So if you clicked on this video, it probably means that you feel like your aim sucks. Either that, or you just want to figure out how you can make your aim as good as it can possibly be. It's kind of why we all play Valorant at the end of the day. Sure, it's fun to outplay your opponent strategically, but what's cooler than landing a nasty clip? That's right, nothing. In Valorant, your skill is often judged by how good your aim is, so in this next 30 minutes, we are going to be helping you fix yours. Why should you listen to me though? Well, my name is Casey, and when Valorant first was released, I started out in Iron. I had next to zero FPS experience, and to be honest, I was a complete bot. Over the course of the first year though, I was able to climb my way up from Iron all the way into Immortal. I fought through the same things that you are going to, and I was able to improve my aim all the way up to the point where I could say, I have at least some idea what I'm doing. What's even better though is that in this last year, I've been really digging more and more into the tips top aiming professionals give along with Valorant pros to really learn what it means to be a good aimer. From things like how much tension should be in your hand when you grip your mouse to how far your crosshair should be when you're tracing corners, I promise I've dug into it all. And today I'm going to be sharing everything I learned that helped me not only hit Immortal, but also how to continue improving even after that. Let's make this video fun though. I'm going to be breaking down aim into 4 levels of difficulty, covering first where beginners should start and moving all the way to what it takes to try to improve as a high elo player. That way, no matter what rank you are, you will get something out of this video. Starting out with beginners first, a lot of being new to the game is just learning how the general mechanics work. Low elo players do things like ADS and move when they shoot all too much. They do silly things like peek long angles with the Bucky, and they don't know what angle advantage is. You see, for new players, the most important thing is for them to know how to shoot. The game can look really fast-paced when you watch pro players. They're zooming around, flicking their crosshair all over the place. The reality is, though, that everything in Valorant can die in one bullet. That means that this game is all about precision. While many coaches will suggest for new players to learn how to counter-strafe, we actually find that this overcomplicates the process for them. At the core, the game really is as simple as see, stop, shoot. And even the best players in the game will mess up their counter strafes from time to time. What you want to do is break down your improvement into bite-sized pieces. Keep it simple and don't focus on too much. What does this look like though? Well, if you ADS a ton, try to queue 6 deathmatches a day where you practice not ADSing at all. For people who maybe don't know what ADS is, it stands for aim down sights, and it refers to the right click mechanic when using a rifle or SMG. While this makes you slightly more accurate, it comes at the cost of your movement speed and more importantly, your spray control. It's very difficult to spray a rifle for more than one shot while ADSing, so for that reason, we don't really recommend using it until you get to the much higher ranks. Instead, what you really want to do when you're new is just practice burst and tap firing. This is because spraying in Valorant is actually really hard and not even that good in most situations. The more bullets you fire, the harder your gun is to control. For this reason, what you want to do is get really good at controlling the first few, and then if you miss those, take a moment to let your recoil reset and go again. This is something that we detail really closely in our Spider Method course over at SkillCap. While low elo players struggle with the mechanics, lots of high elo players actually get incredibly sloppy as they get better at the game, resulting in their gunplay being much worse than they actually think it is. If you're still whiffing a ton even after a couple of 100 hours played, then this course will help you get back to simplifying the aiming process and make landing shots as easy as slicing through butter with a glitch pop knife. Okay, we've never tried that, but I assume it would work well. This course details the 6 steps that aimers like Shroud use in all of their gunfights to land crazy clips like this one. We worked on this course a few months ago and it went absolutely viral, getting hundreds of thousands of views, and the feedback that we've gotten has been incredibly positive. Not to mention our whole site is backed by a rank improvement guarantee, so if you don't find it helpful, you don't pay. It's that simple. If you're really looking to master the game, trust me when I say that this might be exactly what you need. Check it out using the link in the description for a discount, and other than that, let's get into the second level of aimers. Level 2 is around the time that players actually start to figure out their crosshair placement. People might have some sort of idea how crosshair placement works in level 1, but honestly they're so lost that it's not even the best thing to teach them. If you're still running every time that you shoot or panicking when you ADS, no amount of crosshair placement is really going to fix that. You're still going to miss a ton. However, once you get a bit more comfortable in the game, you really need to start digging into where exactly you're aiming. A lot of players know that you want to keep your crosshair at head level where the enemies will peek to make it easier to land headshots. But did you know that crosshair placement changes drastically depending on what you're doing? For example, did you know that if you're walking around the map looking for an enemy who may be doing the same, you actually want to place your crosshair a bit wider from the corner? This is because when you're both peeking a corner at the same time, it's very likely they're just going to swing right past your crosshair. Now, depending on your reaction time, this may vary from player to player, but check out this clip, for example, of these Clove players fighting on Pistol Round. Notice how they have their crosshair trained on the corner from where their teammate just died. This is an issue because as we're swinging, our crosshair might seem fine, but as they're swinging, they move a mile past where we're aiming. This causes us to have to make a massive adjustment and nearly results in a huge whiff. There will also be times where you actually want your crosshair to be in the wall. This is what we call pre-aiming, and basically the goal here is to have it so when you peek, your crosshair is already on their head, so all you have to do is shoot. If you're curving your crosshair around every corner, you're likely making the game way harder than it needs to be. Similarly, if you pre-aim every angle, you're probably going to get caught off guard quite a bit. For example, here is a clip of me tracing my crosshair around the corner of B site icebox. This is a situation you'll run into from time to time where the enemy team is playing off of someone's contact. They're not peeking right now because somebody is holding the angle, and the moment that that player takes contact, everyone is going to swing. So in this case, what I do is I'm slowly walking up looking for that player taking contact. Reyna could be on any one of these angles, which is exactly why you'll notice I'm tracing all of them as I peek the angle. Sure enough, after I've cleared everything but the last angle and I don't see Reyna, I confidently swing to pre-fire the last spot that she could be playing. There's a lot of angles to clear here, and I need to move kinda fast because I'm sitting out in the open right now. So in this case, tracing makes a lot of sense. With pre-aiming, it's more systematic. You peek one angle, and then you peek another angle, and then you peek another. With tracing though, you can pick up your pace a bit more by just clearing everything in one quick swoop. This is what the second level of aiming revolves around, learning how to pre-aim angles and trace corners effectively to improve your crosshair placement. You might not be making plays like this immediately, but trust me when I say that you will get there eventually. If this is still confusing to you though how crosshair placement works, we cover all of it super in depth in our hour-long Aim God Masterclass over at Skillcapped. Here's a clip from it that breaks it down a bit better. After landing the second kill onto the enemy Astra back site, Gekko throws his molly towards CT, which he has a hunch that the last player has pushed out into. This molly gives Gekko enough time to get towards site and put on the pressure with Wingman for the defuse. As Wingman is defusing, Gekko baits the Skye to come out and reveal her position. This way he could take a fight on her while she's shooting at Little Bro. Because of this combo, Skye is forced to make this noise, allowing her Gekko to first pre-aim CT and then swing immediately after, landing for a super clutch kill and a massive 1v3. Take note of how Gekko's crosshair isn't hugging the corner here because he's not worried about the Skye swinging him. Instead, his crosshair is in the wall so that when he swings, he doesn't have to adjust it nearly at all. At 29 HP, Gekko used this tactic of pre-aiming to help him secure the round for his team. Compare this pre-aim to the other clip where the Reyna is tracing the corner of the wall. You can see a massive difference between these two levels of crosshair placement. Notice how in this clip, our Reyna player's crosshair hovers around the corner the whole way as she approaches top cat. She does this because there could be a player on any one of these angles that she is approaching. If she pre-aims every single angle, it's going to take her forever to scale up here. So she instead utilizes tracing to help her walk up a bit more quickly. So to make it easy, pre-aiming should be used when you either know the enemy's location based off of sound, or you have a hunch that an enemy is holding a specific angle and you want to peek them convincingly. Moving on to level 3, here is around the time that players start to realize that movement is actually one of the most important parts of aiming. Remember when we said for pre-aiming that you kind of want to let your movement do the work? Well, that also happens in just regular gunfights, not only when peeking corners. You see, the thing is that micro-adjusting can actually be really difficult to do consistently all of the time. We're talking about making super tiny millimeter adjustments with your mouse while you're being faced with a ton of other stimuli on screen. The reality is that aiming is hard. That's why sometimes it's actually just easier to let your movement do the adjustments for you. This is a lot of what the popular over-aim drill from Woohoogen looks to tackle. The bots spawn, you flick past their head, and then you use your movement to adjust. You can see this same tactic used by pro players constantly if you're looking for it. Many people view movement and aim as two separate things, but in reality, they're actually one and the same. The other thing with good movement is that it also just gives you more time to land your shot. When you peek an angle poorly, you're likely to just get one tap. You're just an easy target to hit, and anyone with decent aim is going to land this shot. However, if you swing the angle confidently, then you're going to survive much longer, giving you way more time to land that shot. Now, to be clear, way more time means like an extra couple milliseconds. But hey, in Valorant, that's like nearly double the amount of time that you normally have. Kind of packaging them together, the other thing that you'll start thinking about in level 3 is where you're choosing to position. There are some shots that are just really hard to hit. This is something that we cover in our movement course over at Skillcapped. Here, take a listen.
Notice how Gekko throws Dizzy from the corner here, and then quickly and quietly repositions towards his left, taking advantage of the enemy Cypher's cage. Because Gecko didn't make any noise with this reposition, Cypher sprints into the corner trying to kill a target that's not even there anymore. You'll notice then, after the Cypher kill, Gecko repositions even more towards the left, once again even catching the Astra off guard as she thinks he's back in the original corner.
Finally, moving on to level 4, this is where things get a bit more intense. You can easily hit Immortal off of the first 3 levels, probably even Radiant. But at level 4, this is kind of where people start obsessing about their aim. Beyond the things that you'll focus on improving in-game already, such as your crosshair placement, movement, positioning, and things like spray control, now you're also thinking about things like, is there a better mouse grip I should be using? How tight am I gripping my mouse? Am I on the right sensitivity? How much is my mental affecting my aim? This is the point where you understand the game, but you're looking for that extra edge that you can get on your opponents to push you even further. For a while for me, I was looking into things like mouse grips. I used to grip my mouse using a very relaxed palm grip. I basically just had the mouse sitting in the palm of my hand, and this had caused a lot of issues for me, mostly because it didn't work in my fingertips when I was aiming. Now keep in mind, there are pros that use basically every style of mouse grip, and I mean every mouse grip. I mean, look at this guy, what in the world is this? However, theoretically when aiming, you want to be able to work in your fingies to the process. This gives you another tool to make precise micro adjustments. Think about it this way, your arm is used for big adjustments like flicking across the screen, your wrist is used more for like medium-sized adjustments or things like tracking a target around, and then your fingers are great for making those precise micro adjustments like when you're aiming at a target that's super far away. I was missing that last piece of the puzzle, and coincidentally, it felt like I was really bad at making micro adjustments. Oftentimes my wrist would lock up and I was just super inconsistent. Fast forward, I've changed my mouse grip to more of a claw style, and it took a bit, but I'm actually seeing noticeable improvements to my aim. My scores on aim trainers have improved, and overall it just felt a lot better. Sure, I'm landing some nasty clips more recently, but I think the coolest thing is that I'm more consistent. I don't miss the easy shots nearly as much. The other thing I've tried to focus on is basically how calm I am when I play and how tight I grip my mouse. They call this tension control. For most aiming you'll do in Valorant, you don't really want to be gripping your mouse super tightly because it makes it harder to land those flicks precisely. The more tension in your hand as you flick, the more tension it's going to take to stop that flick. People say that your mouse grip should be pretty loose, almost as if you're holding an egg. Something I noticed with my aim for a while is that I was really good at landing that first kill when I was faced with multiple enemies, but for some reason I'd always end up whiffing on the second one, and I came to the conclusion that this was part of the reason. If you guys have ever seen those clips where a player just goes bop bop and lands 2 quick headshots, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I always wondered how they were able to go so quickly from landing one shot to immediately moving to the next target, and part of the reason is because they just have really good tension control. The tension applied in the first flick is relatively low, making it so that transferring to the second flick is a lot easier. This might sound like a bunch of mumbo jumbo to you guys, but it's a real thing, and the AIM community has done a lot of research into this sort of stuff. If you want more information on this, then I recommend checking out this interview on DDK's channel with Cartoon FPS, one of the best aimers in the world. It will definitely open your eyes a bit to the depth of aiming. Another question a lot of people might ask is, am I on the right sensitivity? Lower elo players maybe don't think about their sensitivity at all, or in some cases they might think about their sensitivity too much. The reality is that your sense doesn't really matter, and it also kind of does. Similar to the mouse grip affecting your ability to make micro adjustments with your fingers, your sensitivity also changes how you aim. For example, if I'm on a really high sensitivity, I'm likely going to be less comfortable using my arm to aim because I just don't need to. You could do pretty much all of the adjustments you need by just using your wrist. Similar to not working in your fingers though, this can also be suboptimal, because you're basically just ignoring a whole ass tool that could be helping you with your aiming process. If your sensitivity is too low, however, you may not use your fingers at all because it really doesn't do much. It takes so much effort to micro adjust that your wrist is going to be doing most of the work anyway. But again, there are pro players who play on widely varying sensitivities, so this isn't to say one is better or worse than the other. There is a recommended range to stick to, but the main thing that we would suggest is to actually practice switching your sensitivity from time to time to train different aspects of your aim. Now, the last time we said this in a video, we got a lot of comments about how this is a bad idea because muscle memory is a big part of aiming. But this is actually really outdated information. Back in the day, everyone used to say that aiming was all muscle memory, but in reality, the argument doesn't hold up because there are so many factors that would affect it. The moisture in your mouse pad is going to affect how your mouse moves, and it will change from day to day. The way you sit will vary slightly. If you wear a long sleeve shirt versus a short sleeve shirt, this will also affect your muscle memory. There's also lots of pro players who change their sensitivity like all the time, TenZ being one of the best examples. Aiming is more about technique and less about muscle memory, and one of the best ways to train your technique is by focusing on different parts of your aim. So if you're playing on low sense all the time, maybe try playing on high sense for a bit and practice getting your fingertips into the mix more. Or if you're always on a high sensitivity, maybe try lowering a bit and working your arm. We don't recommend switching your sensitivity every game, but try it out for a month or two and just see if you like it. It's very possible you're going to end up settling somewhere in the middle afterwards. More than anything though, I think the biggest thing that affects players' aim at the top level is actually just their mental. Lots of players convince themselves as they climb that they don't have good aim. They say they're more of a strategic player, and they are familiar with being at the bottom of the scoreboard. The reality is though that you're probably not going to win a gunfight if you don't believe that you're going to win the gunfight beforehand. You could be taking an incredibly favored fight, but if you get into your head that you're going to lose it, you're probably going to lose it. I genuinely challenge you to hype yourself up when you get into these clutch situations. When you're in a 1v2, say to yourself, I'm about to win this. Or when some dude is top fragging and having a good game, instead of running from that guy, try to humble him a bit. Listen, I'm not the best aimer in the world, but when I see players who clearly think they are TenZ 2.0, I shut that shit down real quick. I've talked to a lot of really good players in my time playing Valorant, and something that's pretty consistent is that many of them just straight up believe they are the best players in the lobby. Now, obviously, there's an extent to this. There is still a ton you can learn, but you need to embody that confidence, otherwise you're just going to get run over. Here, don't take it from me, instead take it from EG Potter.
I had a lot of one-on-ones after we got destroyed by Crew with each of the players, and in my conversations with them, I asked them, if we were playing basketball right now, and Shaq was on the other side, it's Shaq over there. Do you see yourself as like a tiny kid on the court trying to play basketball versus Shaq, or are you a huge motherfucker like Shaq is, right? And they all said they were like a small, you know, they were scrappy, David and Goliath, but they were going to come back and everyone's going to respect them for fighting again, right? Even though they're small. And I said, I don't see you like that. I don't think anyone else sees you like that. You're Shaq. You're just as big as this motherfucker. Wow. He's just been in the league for a little bit longer, right? So you have just as many tools as these guys.
All right, though, guys, before we wrap this up, let me tell you a little bit more about Skill Cap. So we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and we think that is a pretty crazy thing to offer. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium Valorant guides on the internet. We add new courses every month with over 1,000 guides curated into over 50 courses. No one can compare. In the last few months, we finished a Cypher, Viper, Raze, Omen, and Clove course, and these turned out pretty dope. For any setup-related agent, we're giving you dozens of setups that you can use to dominate the ladder. And for our Brimstone course, we actually have over 100 Molly lineups that you can use across all maps. Yeah, the guy who made this went absolutely nuts on that one. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. Also, don't forget to check out our Discord server, where we host community customs from time to time and have our coaches answer subscriber questions in our Ask a Pro channel. That's going to be all for this one today. Thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.